Hi and welcome to Time's Up, the new show about sustainability, the climate crisis and the power of our generation in fighting for the future. I'm Miles.
And I'm Leonie. As you all know, climate change has become a hot topic in recent news affairs, but we want to make fighting it more accessible for people like us.
It can be hard for people our age to be as sustainable as possible when we're surrounded by wasteful objects and the pressure to be the trendiest and most fashion-forward person wherever we go.
So we've got a few guests on the show today to talk about challenges, interviews, and how you can make a difference in your everyday life. First up, we wanted to see how possible it actually is to be completely sustainable. So we challenged 2 people to try their best for 24 hours.
So the first point on the list is no electricity. So let's get to that. Okay, we're going to use natural lighting as long as we can.
So part of being 100% sustainable is not using electricity, and so far that's actually been okay. It hasn't been too hard because it's a bright and sunny day, which is obviously helpful. However, one way in which it has affected me already is making coffee. So normally every morning I make a coffee to wake myself up, but obviously today I couldn't because it uses electricity. But it's okay, I'll just have to be a bit more tired than usual.
And when it gets dark, we're going to use these batteries.
One thing I'm dreading about today is when it starts to get dark and I'll have to start using candles to find my way around my house. And I think that's going to be really difficult because I'll just have to hold a candle with me wherever I go if I don't want to fall over. So yeah, I think that's going to be really hard. And I'm dreading it, but I'm also excited to see what life was like before electricity.
So today I thought I'm going to donate some clothes that I don't wear anymore. I think that would be quite cool. And also the other criteria was to not eat meat. So let's get to that. No plastic.
So it's 5 p.m. and it's really dark outside, so obviously I've had to light some candles. The day hasn't actually been as difficult as I thought it would be. I just finished reading a book that I've been meaning to finish. That was good. And I did that instead of watching Netflix and using electricity. What else did I do? I made pasta with mushrooms instead of anything meaty like I would normally eat. And yeah, it actually hasn't been as difficult as I thought, but I wouldn't be able to do this every day, no way. So it is, like I said, 5 p.m. and normally I sleep at 12 p.m. so I have no idea what I'm going to do with my free time because my phone is on 1% because I can't charge it, because I can't use electricity.
what have I got myself into?
So I think the day has been going fine. Like, I haven't been using electricity at all, really. The only one time I used it was in the bathroom, obviously, because it's dark and I need light. I haven't charged any of my devices yet, and other than that, like, it's been going great. Honestly, I could do the sustainable life every day.
Welcome back to Time's Up. Here in the studio, we've got Natalia from the Sustainability Challenge. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
24 hours completely sustainable. How did it feel going into this challenge?
I was a bit nervous but excited to see how achievable it was and how my day would change overall.
Did you come across any obstacles during this?
Yeah, definitely the electricity was a big struggle. I failed a couple times, which I was not happy about, but hopefully next challenge I'll be able to. Do you feel
That makes sense. Do you think it's something you could do every day?
Not entirely, but I already do most of these things every day, so it wouldn't be such a struggle, but yeah, I think I could.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who wanted to try this sustainable lifestyle?
You should definitely go for it, have fun with it, and even if you fail, it's fine. You can try again, and then you'll see your carbon footprint decrease every day, and you'll see a real change happen.
Well, thank you for coming on to the show today.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got someone who has a passion for fashion. Adrian's been asking Shane about upcycling.
So what inspired me to start upcycling is that when I was younger, I always used to go to the charity shops. I saw people on YouTube, thrift YouTubers and stuff, they started like upcycling all of their clothes, and then I started when I was about like 12 or like 13. I started like painting on things and then like putting loads of stuff on like jackets. The whole like punk vest thing I really got into when I was younger. I started putting like bottle caps and like painting on jackets and stuff, and then from there it sort of moved on to what I'm doing now. What people can do if they're concerned about the impacts of fast fashion is you can honestly just go to charity shops and go to thrift stores and things like that and buy as much as you want there. It's already been worn, which isn't an issue for the environment, so it doesn't really matter where it's made after it's been bought from like a high-end shop. So when it's in a charity shop or when it's in a thrift store, you're not really giving money to that company who has impacted the planet in a bad way, I guess. You can always buy things off of Depop and off of like secondhand sellers on eBay. You don't need to spend a lot of money to be sustainable. My outfits never cost me upwards of like 50 quid for like the whole thing. You can go to places like East End Thrift Store and just kilo sales generally. It doesn't matter like how good or like bad the clothes are. They weigh them and you buy it based on weight. It's never too expensive, and it's never as expensive as it would have been buying it new. I think it's important for people to avoid fast fashion brands because they're impacting our climate negatively and they're just impacting the world generally negatively. The reason why I'm really against them is because there's like 7-year-olds in like Indonesia and like Asia and just third world countries who aren't getting paid rightfully for what they're doing, and they're putting in a lot of work to get paid basically nothing back. And shopping in charity shops and shopping secondhand, it means that we're not supporting industries who do that to them. For people interested in sustainable fashion, I think designers such as Vinonomi and Piero D'Angelo are really good for the climate. They don't have many ready-to-wear things that you can go out and buy, which is why sustainable fashion mostly comes from secondhand shops. Vinonomi grow all their latex. They're grown in really sustainable ways and they're not exploiting anybody whilst farming their latex. And Piero D'Angelo, he's quite a small designer, but he makes his dresses out of mushrooms, which is really interesting actually. He gets like a sheer dress and he makes it out of like a sheared tulle or organza and then grows these mushrooms on top of it to cover up body parts, and it makes these like huge, really interesting avant-garde creations which are really sustainable and also really interesting to look at. And the same as Aurélie Fontaine, she's another designer. She makes all of her dresses out of woven together car seats and old pieces of leather that she can just get her hands on in a sustainable way, and she weaves them and paints them and they create these really lovely structural gowns, which I think are really pretty. So these are some of the things that I have thrifted and upcycled. I thrifted this a little while ago. The reason why I wanted to show these ones and the other pieces that I got as well is because they were really cheap, if not free. Some of the things I've got are from an organisation called Fast Fashion. That's the only place in London you don't have to give actual money to buy clothes. You trade your old clothes in. I got this from one of them, and I got these trousers from another one. when I got this jumper, it had a rip there, and I thought I'd just rip the rest of it up. I shoved a few safety pins in, and I wanted to go for like a Renaissance vibe with the badges. So I got some badges from Spitalfields Market, which is a great place for cheap jewellery. It's where I got most of my pearls and my chains from. You can get really nice badges. These all cost me like £1 each. It's just a clown collar. I made it out of some old fabric I actually found on the side of the road. A great place, if you don't really care too much about hygiene, a great place to find old trimmings, old fabrics and stuff. You can just find them on the side of the street, and it might be a little bit weird, but you can pick them up, you can wash them, and you can always make something out of them. I found a few meters of this ruffle fabric on the side of the road, and I thought it would be really cool to make a clown collar out of it, but shove some safety pins in it as well, so I can always upcycle it into something else, like cuffs or something else to put on trousers. I did another DIY on this blazer. I thought I'd never have a reason to wear a formal blazer, so I could put some flowers and stuff, and I put a little heart on the back. Finally, we have this. This is, it's not something that I've upcycled. I'm thinking of upcycling it soon and doing something similar to it as I did with this, with the badges. I thought this was cool because it literally cost me £1, and it has all this really pretty embroidery on it. If you want knitwear like this, you can go to East End Thrift Store, the one in Stepney Green, and they have knitwear everywhere. You can have a look. Some days are great, some days aren't too great, and you can always find anything. You can just make it work, pair it with something weird and make fashion out of it.
Hello and welcome back to Time's Up. We've got Adrian here in the studio to discuss that interview with Shane. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. I really enjoyed making it.
enjoyed
Shane's an interesting
the
character.
interview, yeah. So tell me, why was sustainable fashion a topic you chose to cover?
So sustainable fashion is a topic that I chose to cover because I feel like it's really swept under the rug in the media, especially in contrast to veganism and plastic waste. And it's really important for people at our age to kind of take a stance on that and really understand that it's actually the second most polluting industry just behind the meat industry. And it's really important that we cover it.
Awesome. So what tips and tricks did you practice from the video?
So Shane and I actually go to East End Thrift Store and places like charity shops. And there's a place called Fast Fashion, which is great for upcycling clothes and stuff.
Yeah. So Fast Fashion, I'm sure the audience would love to hear a bit more about that.
So that's actually a space in Dalston, Kingsland, and it's a place for you to go and donate some clothes, and in return you get clothes back, which you can pick. And upstairs there's a place where it's like a workshop and you can upcycle your clothes and make them something new. So it's great for everyone, all ages to come.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So the news recently hasn't been particularly joyous, but it's crucial that we are aware of what's happening around the world. Let's head over to Kester and Teo for an update of what's going on in Australia.
And thank you, Miles. Welcome to the Australia Report, and we're here to give you a recap of the Australian bushfires. A recent statement from the Australian Bureau of Meteorology says that 2019 was the hottest and driest year on record.
So there are many reasons why the fire started, such as an extremely dry summer caused by climate change. However, 24 people have also been charged with deliberately starting the fire. Moreover, the eucalyptus tree is believed to help spread the fire, according to Jane Coulson, a professional in vegetation flammability.
This typical Australian tree covers about a third of all trees in Australia, and the reason it's so flammable is little bits of wood in the bark ignite and travel along the wind, starting another fire 80 kilometres away. The leaves also have a certain oil which makes them more flammable. In New South Wales alone, 3,000 homes have been destroyed, 173 people have been killed, and nearly 1 billion animals have died. The glossy-backed cockatoo has lost 60% of its feeding habitat. Koalas are labelled virtually extinct, with over 1,000 being killed in the last month in New South Wales. And the dun rat has been labelled extinct completely, with no traces of it left so far. The blue mountain water skink is also on the verge of extinction, with scientists struggling to find a mating pair.
The political tension between the government and the victims is at an all-time high. This is due to Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who failed to respond quickly and isn't handling the situation responsibly. Even his own ministers and voters are displeased with him. However, the government has pledged $2 billion Australian dollars towards the cause. Talking about the victims, the bill for all damages across the country could cost more than $100 billion. There is a clear link of climate change and the fire because Australia continues to be a leader in exploitation of coal.
However, not all is lost. 3,700 firefighting personnel from Australia have been deployed, as long as the 250 from the US, New Zealand and Canada have also been deployed. A new fire hose is being developed, which can now take water up faster while on the go, and now being taken from lakes, reservoirs and personal swimming pools. More recently, however, heavy rainfall has hit eastern coast of Australia, taking out bushfires and giving a respite to thirsty animals. But however, there is a fear that this heavy rainfall will wash the ash into lakes and rivers, contaminating them and making them poisonous. Furthermore, New South Wales and Queensland were hit with flash floods caused by the heavy rainfall.
An organisation called Give It has been helping victims by taking donations of things like kettles, blankets and car batteries and giving it to the victims according to what they need. There is also St. Vincent de Paul Society, which has 600,000 members who financially help victims who had to flee their homes. $50 Australian can provide food, $150 helps clear off the bills, $300 could clothe a whole family. However, the Australian bushfires has strengthened the bond between communities. Because of this, a lot of neighbours would take affected families into their home or donate food to struggling members of the community.
Indigenous fire practitioners are trying to open a discussion with the government about using an ancient technique called cultural burning. Cultural burning is when small-scale burns are used at the right time in the right places to prevent big fires. It can also have great effect for the cultural wildlife and animals. Oliver Costello from NIFA warns that this is a ticking time bomb because all of the canopy is being wiped out in a lot of areas, which will end up regenerating strongly, but they'll return in the wrong way, creating a species discomposition.
Yeah, different animals react to fires differently. Wombats, for example, dig holes in the ground and hide while koalas climb up into the canopy to wait out the fires. The fire have forever changed the landscape as it has burned through forest, usually humid jungle and peat swamps. So even if the government tries to regrow, these jungles and swamps have completely changed. Swamps have dried out, and the fog that usually lingers in the jungle has been replaced with toxic and hot smoke. In this time of pure chaos, one thing is certain: Australia will never be the same.
Now, how can you help if you're interested in saving the affected wildlife? WISE is a non-profit organisation centred around the evacuation of animals, and they also offer emergency medical care. Another great charity is Food Bank, which donates food to the victims of the wildfires who have lost their farmland or their homes.
Fire department are still open to donations as well. That's the latest news for now. Back to Miles.
Welcome back. Thanks for that very informative report.
The world's been clouded with negative news recently, but have you heard about the scientists regenerating the coral reef?
Or the 50 million trees that are currently being replanted?
So before we go, we'd just like to help support some of the charities that are helping with the environment currently.
You all know WWF and Extinction Rebellion, but charities like Rainforest Foundation and Sandbag are both independent charities doing great work in London and elsewhere.
However, if that's inaccessible, you could go to marches and workshops, you can raise awareness wherever you can, for example, Instagram and Twitter, and urge aid groups and governments to help as much as possible.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today.
A big thanks to all our crew that helped with the show, and thanks so much for watching.
We hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
Bye.